Hello everyone, I'm bringing a video today looking at some East German civilian items. Some of these I've collected because they are suitable for inclusion in soldiers' personal items, a small kit carried in the Sturmgepäck, for example. However, some of these are not really applicable in that way at all. They're simply civilian items which I've acquired, and I thought it would be interesting just to have a look through a selection of these. It's quite a colourful little display of items. And as I say, it's sort of a snapshot of East Germany in that regard, and I'm quite happy to have these various bits and pieces in the collection from the civilian interest, quite apart from their use in putting together soldiers' small kit. So hopefully it'll be interesting looking at these different bits and pieces. So here we have the various bits and pieces we're going to talk about. There's no real rhyme or reason to what I've picked out here. These are just random bits from the collection which we've not looked at already. Obviously I did cover some sort of civilian items in a video looking at a soldier's small kit, and many of the items there were of course civilian items that were used by soldiers as part of their kit they carried with them, obviously hygiene items and so forth. I've tried to not duplicate items here. We're looking at things we haven't seen before. So some of these will be applicable to soldier small kit, pocket fillers, that sort of thing. But some of these items are purely civilian, and from that point of view, relatively interesting in their own right. And hopefully it will be interesting looking at these bits and pieces. So we'll start off on the left-hand side here with a little selection of pocket calendars. Now these are credit card sized calendars which could go in a wallet for various different years, and they have various different themes. So we have the first one here, we've got Grenztruppen theme for this one. Quite common to see these with photographs of military operations and so forth, and this one dates from 1988-89 as you can see. So crosses over the new year there. Also these often have a little rule on the side up to 8 centimeters, which is a useful thing to have. And these were quite popular, it seems. There's certainly a great variety of them and quite a useful thing to have. So we have the Grenztruppen one there. We then have one for the Volksarmee showing naval operations, as you can see there, patrol boats. We have a look on the back here. This one dates from 1989. So most of the ones I have here I think are relatively late in the existence of East Germany. This one I really like, for the Army Museum der DDR, which is obviously the Army Museum of East Germany, the German Democratic Republic, and lovely illustration there of late Napoleonic, what have we got there? Are they Saxon volunteers, I think? So, lovely thing. And 1988 again you have that scale on the side there. And then we have this one here, Fernsehen der DDR, as you can see there. So an advertising card, advertising calendar. And this one dates from 1990, so very late. I do have some earlier ones as well, but these are the ones I picked out as being sort of the most colourful and interesting to have a look at. So we have that little selection there. Next we have some match books and a match box, you can see here. So you can see both of these here from the same manufacturer. And these are complete with matches, which is rather nice. This one's rather good as it has the statue, a bust of Karl Marx on the back, obviously Karl Marx stat on the back there, an artist's rendition. That one down. I have one for Pentacon, which, given I have a collection of the cameras manufactured by lenses manufactured by Pentacon, along with the covers, it's rather nice to get this, so an advertising matchbook, and you can see you have two sets of matches in there, nice big one, and then you can see there an advert for the film on the back. So good pocket fillers, useful things to have. How common matchbooks, advertising matchbooks would be in a soldier small kit I don't know, but a box of matches certainly would be a useful thing to have, so particularly if a smoker, as many soldiers were, so nice to have. And as I say, applicable sort of pocket fillers for military kit. An eraser. And as you can see here, this is actually a product of Czechoslovakia, but with a price on it for sale in East Germany. So you've got 75 Pfennig there, and just a nice thing to have, part of the stationery items, potentially something you might carry with you for working with maps and so forth, but just a nice little thing that was extremely cheap and came in with a load of other bits I bought off German eBay at one point. So that's a nice thing to have. You can see here, these were actually a gift from a friend of mine, David Brennan, who sent them to me with some other bits and pieces. And these are really quite something. They're a set of small, well, they're shot glasses, so obviously they're small. But a set of shot glasses made in plastic, as you can see here. and they're made in orange, purple and green, as you can see. And these really are quite something, very garish, but lovely and colourful. I wouldn't drink from these because the plastic used at the time is reputably not food safe, and that would not surprise me in the least. But a lot of consumer items, a lot of things were made of plastic that would perhaps not be made of plastic in other countries. And these shot glasses are just an interesting little thing that, as I say, were very kindly gifted to me, and just an interesting little civilian item. Whether these may have turned up in an officer's mess or something, I don't know. But yeah, just an interesting little element of East German consumer products. I have a couple of combs at the top here. Now, I think one of these may have featured in the video looking at Soldier Small Kit. I think the red one might have done. But just to show you, we have an East German comb there. Not sure if this has a price stamped on it, but you can see there is a marking there. Now you can see here details on the back, made in GDR. So presumably also intended for export, as a lot of East German products were. And then this one here, which is in a faux tortoiseshell finish, as you can see, that's just sort of sprayed on. This is referred to as the Lioness, so presumably marketed to women. And you can see there details, manufacture. You can see where the finish is beginning to wear off. But again, that basically I bought those two together, and it was just a couple of East German combs, and I didn't realise this one sort of had that Lioness brand on it. In the centre here we have a couple of packs, pocket packs of tissues, handkerchiefs, and you can see here these are, I'm going to try, für alle Fälle, and you can see these both cost 25 Pfennig, and you've got a pack of 10. This is what I presume to be an earlier example. It's in a paper packet, probably a lot better, and if you could buy pocket handkerchiefs in a paper packet like this, you could at least recycle the paper, given today's priorities. But then this one in a plastic packet, as you can see there, and have a look at the details of this. So again, useful pocket filler, certainly for later on, a useful thing. Obviously, I find it useful to have a set of pocket tissues with me when I go out and about. And so again, I thought saw them for sale and they weren't expensive, so bought a few packs of each. They were in a job lot, both in the paper wrapper and in the plastic wrapper. So got those two there. Something which is definitely of use, and I had in mind Soldier Small Kit when I bought this, was a little notebook, something that is specified as one of the prescribed contents for the Sturmgepäck, so I have that to sort of fit in with that kit. And I think I'm not far off having a full set of contents now, which is good, and some of the other bits here tie in with that as well. But the little notepad there, just have a look at the markings on the cover here, as you can see. EVP, 1 Mark, 10 Pfennig, so 1 Mark and 10 Pfennig for the price there, as you can see. Hygiene items here, a couple of rather nice little things. These are deodorant sticks, and they still retain the smell, the scent that they're supposed to have. They both smell kind of similar and kind of chemical, but obviously they've been, I think they're marketed differently. There is another one of these I'd like to pick up, which is in a blue container, same white cap and same shape, but in a blue container, again made by Florina. So if I open one of these up, they're a push sticks, so I take the cap off here and you literally just push from the bottom. You can see there, push up, and it would push out of the top. Not looking great in there, but they don't smell bad. They still, as I say, retain the scent they originally had, but quite dried up, as you can see. The green ones are relatively common to find, or were relatively common to find. The red ones, not so much, and the blue ones, I've only seen one on an old listing. So not as easy to get, I presume, but I'll keep looking, keep an eye out. As I say, a weird thing to collect, but there it is. Next to those, we have here a sewing kit, and this is definitely an important element of a soldier's kit. You'd expect it to provide your own, I believe. And in here we have grey, we've got some darning wool, some grey thread and some white thread there, quite heavyweight thread, as you can see. And then we also have a pack of, I'm not opening this, but what I believe to be, let's have a look, actually. Oh, it is open. So a pack of buttons in there, as you can see. So you've got shirt buttons and 4-hole buttons and so forth. These are similar to what you see on the later, sort of the pocket buttons on the later combat uniform, interestingly. The field service uniform, rather. So a pack of buttons in there. And then I know there are some safety pins in here, some safety pins, and I believe the needles are, oh no, there we go. We do have the needles, so you've got a large through small set of needles there for the different sizes of thread used. This little card. So fairly typical for small emergency repair sewing kits that you might take with you camping and so forth. And obviously the intention of that is on the civilian market, that's what these would be for. But they were also expected to be carried by soldiers and provided by soldiers. In this vinyl pouch, these are they're fairly common to find, and they're generally in what I think is vinyl, with these plastic cases with a single snap or press stud there, as you can see. So cheap and cheerful, but it does the job. And it's typical, as I say, of it's got this sort of faux leather finish to it. It's typical of East German products of this nature. The cases and so forth tend to be made of this sort of material. Underneath that we have a set of biros. I bought a whole pack of these because it was the cheapest way of getting hold of some. And you can see in jeder Hand, which I think is in every hand. My German is not great, but I think that's what that means. You can see the illustration of what's inside there. And 20 Stück, so 20 of these inside. So if I open this up here, we'll have a look at one of these. I have opened the end without the nib, which is good, so I'm not covering myself in ink. These are mostly quite dried up, but they're really cheap ballpoint pens. If I can bring this into focus here, there we go. Really cheap and cheerful ballpoint pens, and as I say, they are all dried up, and they're made of a really, just what feels like a really cheap brittle plastic. But as I say, what were around at the time, and writing implements, again, part of a soldier's kit, so included those there. Need to get some pencils really as well. Thing underneath that is another element of soldier's kit, and this is a shoe cleaning kit, and this is made of a rubberized sort of cloth reinforced case. You can see again it's got that sort of almost faux leather finish to it, but it's got this cloth reinforcement in it. You can see some of that sort of fraying away at the edge there perhaps. Riveted in place here and here, so that the manufacturing of this is really simple. There's no stitching or anything. You just fold it in, rivet it in place here, and obviously fit a press stud. So this would just be cut out of a piece of this material and riveted up together. But inside, obviously this is a nice example unused. You get two brushes, as you can see here, two tubes of polish. So you've got black there. Interestingly, the English again, so presumably for export, but aigu is a very common, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Again, please do correct me in the comments if not. And then you've got the colourless polish here as well. And again, the English there, as you can see. A little shoehorn here, tiny little plastic shoehorn. Again, made of a really nasty, cheap, horrible plastic. This feels very brittle. And then you have a cleaning cloth, the yellow duster in there as well. And interestingly, we still have a little tag behind that, which you can see here. And then the EVP for that would be 5 marks, 10 Pfennig. And you can see VB, you can see the factory name there. Ledenwarenfabrik Königssee. So pop that back in there and pop the contents back in as well. Put that little shoehorn back where it came from, and the two tubes of polish in the middle, and the brushes. So as I say, that is an element that would be included in a soldier's kit, and that's why I wanted to get one. Is a shoe cleaning kit was expected to be carried, and that's what I've got this for. Just snap that back together if I can. There we go. So that's a look at these East German civilian items. As I say, there is some application to having these in terms of recreating soldiers' kit, but I thought it would just be interesting to have a look at some of the other bits and pieces which actually possibly aren't as applicable. And it's quite nice to have these. As I say, they're a sort of snapshot of obviously a country which no longer exists, and an interesting element of the Cold War, and an interesting element of that East-West divide. So a little bit of a snapshot into history from that point of view, and that's one of the reasons I've picked up these various bits and pieces. So I do hope you found it interesting looking at this. There won't be a huge amount of content on the channel looking specifically at civilian items. Generally speaking, it will be in relation to a soldier's personal items, soldier's small kit and so forth. And obviously some of the items we've looked at in this video are certainly form part of that sort of collection, that side of the collection. But it's nevertheless nice to have some bits and pieces which are purely civilian items. They're an interesting snapshot of East German products which were available at the time. The shot glasses are a good example of that and quite interesting. And obviously a very kind gift in that regard as well from David Brennan. So thank you once again, David. I do hope you found it interesting looking at these bits and pieces. If you have and you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. That's everything for this video. So until next time, bye for now.